Hey y'all, let's catch up with what's going on in the city of Newnan. Here's what happened at the April 15th, 2025 City Council meeting.
16 items were included on the agenda. The first two items approved were the minutes from the regularly scheduled meeting on March 25th and the work session on March 25th. Both were unanimously approved by the City Council. Next, Council recognized the graduates of the Newnan Youth Council, who have served as liaisons to the Council for the community youth for the last 3 years. Great job, wishing you the best of luck in all your future endeavors. The next three items included appointments to city boards and commissions. Councilman Jim Thomason appointed Tony Galiotto for reappointment. City Councilwoman Cynthia Jenkins nominated Gerald Walton for reappointment, and Councilman Rochelle nominated Hank Arnold to the Newnan Urban Redevelopment Agency. All three nominations were unanimously approved. Councilman Jim Thomason nominated Roy Garner for reappointment, and Councilwoman Cynthia Jenkins nominated Michael Nix for reappointment to the Youth Activities Commission. All three were unanimously approved. Mayor Brady pushed his nominations for NURA and the Youth Council to the next meeting, as well as Councilwoman Cynthia Jenkins pushed her appointment to the Tree Commission to the next meeting. The seventh item on the agenda was the update on 27 Clark Street, a building the city of Newnan has leased to the Newnan Historical Society and which is used for storage and research facility for the Newnan Coweta History Center and McRitchie Hollis Museum. The lease for the property expired and council previously voted to not renew the lease. Since then, council has proposed to sell the property to the Historical Society and remove the city from Historical Society's trust and allowing Morgan Stanley, a financial investment firm, to recommend a new trustee. Council approved unanimously to send the legal paperwork through the city's legal counsel, along with the Historical Society's legal counsel, to the court to have the city's status as trustee removed. Next, council opened a public hearing regarding an application for an alcohol beverage license by a new business, a Bronxtail LLC, at 31 Market Street, Road, Suite 101. No one spoke up against or in favor of the application, and it was approved unanimously. The next item was regarding amending city ordinances. The council discussed at their annual retreat on March 27th and 28th. 3 amendments were proposed. First, an amendment to increase the amount of model homes in new subdivisions of the city from 1 to 3, since Article 2 of the city's zoning ordinance requires new subdivisions to have at least 3 styles of homes. Second was the development of an ordinance to regulate short-term vacation rentals. This amendment was discussed in 2018, but council decided at the time not to pursue it. Since then, short-term vacation rentals have increased in the city, and council is considering if it would be beneficial to regulate them to protect neighborhoods as well as the safety of the visitors. The third item included the development of an ordinance to allow for backyard chickens. While this ordinance wouldn't supersede restrictions of an HOA, it would, with certain regulations, allow residents within the city of Newnan to own chickens. Council approved city staff to move forward with working on creating the ordinance amendments to be brought back to council for approval. The 10th item on the agenda was regarding the pickleball courts at the Hop. In 2023, Newnan residents approved the SPLOST 2025 referendum, which has a line item in it for 6 additional courts to be added to the Hop. In 2024, city staff sent out a bid asking for a design-build contract for the courts, and council awarded the design to Headley Construction for $100,584 for the design and $10,000 for pre-construction fees. Council was notified back in 2024 that they would be given a guaranteed maximum price for the project, but because of inflation, that number needed to be amended. Headley Construction Company provided a guaranteed maximum price of $1,297,475 on April 7th, 2025. Again, this would be funded by SPLOST 2025. Council approved the guaranteed maximum price unanimously, stating that because the Lynch Park renovations, which would also be paid for using SPLOST 2025 funds, was under budget, it made them more comfortable to approve the number provided by Headley Construction. The next item on Council's agenda was 28 Westgate Park Lane. This is a residential lot that was purchased some years ago by the city of Newnan and was placed in surplus, meaning that the city has the opportunity to sell the lot. A resident reached out to the city regarding the purchase of the lot, and the lot was then included in a public auction at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, April 1st. The sole bidder was the Newnan Housing Authority, offering $5,000 for the property. Councilman Paul Guillaume raised the question about how much the lot was worth, and Mayor Keith Brady approximated that the lot could be worth somewhere in the ballpark of about $15,000, but that the initial point of using the property was to develop affordable housing on it, and that was what the Housing Authority was planning on doing. Council approved the offer for $5,000 from the Housing Authority unanimously. Moving on to the unfinished business, the next item was a text amendment to Zoning Ordinance 2 and 3. An application was submitted to council on February 1st to reduce the distance required between child daycare facilities. The ordinance specifically required 1,000 feet between child daycare facilities and other care facilities, including adult daycare facilities, assisted living facilities, retirement communities, developmentally disabled facilities, patient family homes, hospice care facilities, transitional shelters, mental health and substance abuse facilities, and personal care health groups. The application application requested that the ordinance be reduced to 300 feet between facilities, though a child care facility must still remain 1,000 feet from a juvenile detention facility. See all the text amendments in the council agenda packet. Councilwoman Cynthia Jenkins questioned the initial reason for why the distance was required to be 1,000 feet in the first place, which city staff responded that traffic between child care locations was the initial reason. Councilwoman Jenkins then asked staff if lowering the distance requirement would increase traffic congestion, especially in school zones, citing Lower Fayetteville as a concern. City staff responded by stating that variances have been made before to allow some child care facilities to be created within the 1,000 feet limit and has not increased traffic congestion in those areas, as well as stating that approval of the ordinance change will allow for market growth in the child care field, and it'll stop this application from coming before council again in the future. No one spoke up for or against the changes in the public hearing. Council approved the text recommendations unanimously from the Planning Commission, but the amendments were adopted by a 6-1 vote, with Councilwoman Jenkins as the sole dissenting vote. The next item was a rezoning request for tax parcel 098A295, an undeveloped piece of land along Newnan Crossing Boulevard East. The owner of the 8.3-acre lot, which is GHV Newnan LLC, requested to rezone the land from 0I1, low-density office and institutional district, to RU7, urban residential single-family dwelling district, high density, for the purpose of developing 33 townhomes. The proposed townhomes would be between 2,324 square feet and 2,390 square feet, with garages between 497 and 502 square feet. And the homes would be sold for $400,000 and $500,000, subject to change based on 2026 housing prices. The first homes would be ready for sale in 2026 if the rezoning and development is approved. Designs for the homes can be found in the agenda packet. 2 of the 8.3 acres would remain undeveloped to promote natural resources, such as streams and floodplains. In the application, a proposed amenity for the townhomes would be utilizing some of the property to build future additions to the link. City Legal Counsel Brad Sears raised the question of the city's responsibility of link maintenance on the property, and City Manager Cletus Phillips stated that the burden of responsibility was not high, especially if the city isn't required to come within a certain radius of the creek in the area for the walking path. Council approved the recommendations of the Planning Commission unanimously before approving the rezoning unanimously. Next on the agenda, Race for Orphans requested street closures of Brown Street between West Washington Street and Madison Street on Friday, May 2nd, starting at 6 p.m. and May 3rd until 11:30 a.m. Council approved the request unanimously. The next agenda item included Dooley Mack Constructors requesting an exemption to the city noise ordinance to pour concrete for a Tractor Supply project on Saturday, May 3rd. City ordinance states that louder noises cannot start until after 7 a.m., and the request by Dooley Mack Constructors is for 4 a.m.
I don't know anybody else. I can't vote for this.
Mayor Keith Brady stated that he was against the request since the project would be so close to a residential neighborhood on a weekend and would disturb the sleep of Newnan citizens who have worked all week. Council unanimously denied the request. The final item regarding the consideration of contract terms from Caldwell Development Investments for 57 East Broad Street was moved into executive session since it involves real estate. Council then went into a closed executive session to discuss real estate and legal. Executive session is a portion of the meeting allowed by the state government for local governments to discuss real estate items that they already own, lawsuits the city of Newnan is involved in, and personnel that work directly for the city council.
Thanks for being here and engaging with your local government. Links to everything in the agenda packet can be found in the description below. For more information, visit the City of Newnan website, newnanga.gov, and follow the City of Newnan on all their social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Nextdoor. Thank you.